I think it's the most important thing in the world for a parent to maintain that child-parent relationship with anyone who has ADD, because they're going to need that for when the going gets tough. And then the parent wants to do everything they can to help the child find something, anything that they're good at and can excel at. When you find something the child's good at it, and we all have something, almost no matter what it is, it helps raise their self-esteem up, gives them more confidence, more courage, helps them socially, because we know everybody loves a winner. So if you're doing well at something, it naturally attracts other people into your life, and then gives you the body armor to overcome the toughest challenges, no matter what they may be. So as a parent, in the moment, it's very difficult to handle. All you can really do is do it with love. But what you want to do in the big picture is to help them find that thing that they can achieve and be great at, and then help them to give their heart and soul to it.
You are a practicing national ADD coach, which I want to talk about after the break at 5:30. That means I'm thinking sports, and I'm thinking someone who's out there who's going to show me how to do this better, how to achieve. And I would like to get a little more practical with you, as you just did here, with some ideas on how those who are challenged with ADD can perform better, whether it's in college or high school or whatever, and certainly invite listener phone calls as well after 5:30. I'm just astounded, though, by people that everyone knows who have been suspected of ADD or displaying ADD traits. We mentioned Albert Einstein before. How about Abraham Lincoln, Agatha Christie, Alexander Graham Bell? I mean, these are enormously creative people. Think about what they achieved. Andrew Carnegie, Babe Ruth. How in the world could he stand in against a pitcher and concentrate?
Hyper-focus.
Beethoven, Benjamin Franklin, Bill Cosby, Cher, Danny Glover, Dustin Hoffman, Dwight Eisenhower, President, Edgar Allan Poe, Eleanor Roosevelt, and the last one I'm going to mention is probably obvious to everyone, Robin Williams. Or he's just in another world. Robin Williams, travels time zones, I think, in just a few minutes.
I love it.
Isn't it true?
But an incredibly creative mind. Look at what that man has done. Not only in comedy, but in drama. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor and screenplays and very talented guy. But he must have been a nightmare in school, don't you think, Michael?
I would not have wanted to have been his teacher.
If anyone would have come home with the note, he's incorrigible, I think it probably would have been Robin Williams. Anyway, if you have questions for Michael Sandler today, whether they're curiosity-driven or perhaps you have a son or daughter or a spouse who struggles with ADD and would like some coaching, well, that's what Michael is here for. 505-7850 or 1-800-730-2727 as you are listening to the afternoon show here at AM 850 KFUO.
Well, Michael Sandler on the line. College Confidence with ADD is his book, published by Source Books. There's a caller who chose not to stay on the line, Michael, that wanted to know if there is a test for adult ADD.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're interested in getting tested, if you go to a psychiatrist or some family physicians as well, they can test you. The one recommendation that I make is to do your homework in advance and to find a specialist who works extensively with those who have ADD. ADD today is both overdiagnosed and underdiagnosed depending on where you are in the country and who you're seeing. So it is always best to try to find somebody who really specializes in understanding it.
Can I ask you a little bit more about that? Because I've heard that. I think a lot of parents have that concern about mainly the overdiagnosed, I think. They're worried that their son or daughter is going to be diagnosed ADD because they're not doing well in school. And there's some real concern about that from parents. How realistic is that? How prevalent is it, the overdiagnosis?
I think overdiagnosis definitely happens, and it's hard to say because we're in a soundbite society now where we're thrown information left and right, where we're given tiny little snippets of information, and it's really information overload from 1,000 directions. So it's really easy to say, well, everybody has those traits, don't they? And to a certain extent, we do. but it's on a range or a spectrum where if your son or daughter has a little bit of difficulty with it, but it's not really affecting them in school, then it's probably just a trait or characteristic. But if they know what to do but can't find a way to get the job done, then they may really have what's known as ADD. The best thing that you can do is find a specialist to make sure that they get a proper diagnosis, and then realize this. There's a common misconception, for example, when it comes to medication. We say that we're drugging our youth today. But when
because I think that's what parents are worried about. It's like, oh my goodness, now he or she, my son is diagnosed, now they're going to put him on drugs, and he's going to be a zombie, and all these things come up in their head.
I think I can put the listeners' minds a little bit at ease on that one, which is the major way major form of medication for those who have ADD is stimulant medication. Ritalin's the most well-known, and that's the equivalent of anywhere from about 12 to 20 cups of coffee. A student who doesn't...
Wow.
It's a powerful little cup of coffee.
Yeah, you don't want to see me on 20 cups of coffee, although I come close to that in the afternoon, right, Diane?
Well, yeah, but the reaction is not the same from an ADD person, yes?
Exactly, because the ADD person doesn't have enough chemical or neurotransmitter activity, say that 10 times fast, chemical neurotransmitter activity going on in their brain. So that's why they're struggling and fidgeting to try to wake up and get their brains going. That's why a stimulant such as Ritalin, Adderall, or many others helps wake up their mind and allows them then to be able to focus and concentrate just as everybody else already can do because they already have enough of that neurotransmitter activity. So if you give someone who doesn't have enough chemical stimulant in their brain a stimulant, it allows them to focus and concentrate. It basically wakes up their mind, or it's like putting on glasses for the nearsighted. It allows you to focus and concentrate. If, however, you were to give that same 12 to 20 cups of coffee to a student who already has enough neurotransmitter activity, you're not going to be comatosing your child or turning him into a zombie. They're going to be bouncing off of the walls.
I imagine that would be one way to see whether or not that diagnosis was correct. I mean, if you start the prescription medication and they're bouncing off the wall, something's not right.
Exactly.
Correct, Michael?
Okay. You're exactly right. They'll try different medications, but if they're consistently, even at a lower dosage, starting to get hyped up or ramped up, rather than calm them down and focus, it may not be ADD. It may be something entirely different.
And there are other medications out besides Ritalin. And I guess, Michael, we're not dealing with the medical expertise end of this, are we? With this book, we're talking about how to handle your condition in a college environment, yes?
Oh, that's correct. I am not an MD. I'm not a doctor. What I am is an ADD coach. So what I am is the person who helps somebody get under the hood, tinker with the engine, and find out what helps them to work better. Or your coach on the sideline, the guy with the whistle, who's saying, okay, we need to work on this, we need to do that, why don't we try this play over here? The medical...
So what kind of accommodations would I have to have at a college if I were sending my son or daughter with ADD to that college?
It's going to depend on how much they've struggled in high school. If they're fairly independent, if they're fairly reliable on their own, and though they struggle, they can get the job done, then a basic level of accommodations and a decent office that has, or Students with Disabilities office is probably sufficient. If, on the other hand, you know that they can succumb to temptation very easily, that they really get pulled off track, and that it's been a tooth and nail struggle to get them through high school, then you're going to want a substantial level of accommodations in place, or even a higher level of disabled student services in place to help them each step of the way of getting through the process, and to have a good safety net in place so that they don't fall through the cracks.